Hi everyone, today I'll be showing my in-depth guide to Killjoy. So I have over many hours on this agent and I have been playing her since season 2, and this will only be a guide on split, and there'll be more guides to come if this video is enjoyed. I just say that. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about defending on A site. So on A site, first of all, I want to make one thing clear. Most of my setups will not be covering the cross from A here to A ramp, and although you can hold site very well, you're setting a death trap. Most of my setups will be setting a death trap on site. They can easily, if the enemy team likes to play default, they can easily lurk through from here and up to heaven and up to ramps and clear everything, and then go vents and flank the players if you don't have anyone playing ramps, or if you have someone that's fast at rotating. So if you find that is happening a lot, you should be putting either your turret at heaven, watching your heaven for your players so that they can't lurk, because you should be on site, or you can be having all your stuff on site and playing heaven, although that is not really ideal because it's better to have your bots watching angles, so if you die on heaven, you're not gonna just, you're not just gonna instantly lose a site. Whereas if your bot dies on heaven, you get the info, you're only losing a turret. Another good turret to watch the cross is on top of here, and often when I see that they're just rushing A, I just take the turret back so it doesn't get destroyed as fast, or I'll put it up here. And this one also watches the cross, but the problem with this one is that people like to smoke heaven, and some omens smoke all the way out here, and it will smoke the turret, and then they'll keep on going. So I like to put it at the spots, or up here. Okay, so the first setup is the most default Killjoy setup, and a setup I actually see quite commonly, but it's actually really effective. So first of all, you want to be aiming slightly above this line, and then you right click, and this should give you a swarm grenade that perfectly covers all of that. Even if they're trying to hide in this corner, it will kill them. Next up, once you have the swarm grenade here, I'll just place it again. There we go. You can have it anywhere above this line, to be honest, but as long as it's next to this one, it should cover all of hell, and less of the swarm grenade will be wasted. Next up, you want to have your alarm bot here, because when they're running through here, they won't be able to see your alarm bot. If they're shift walking here, they won't be able to see your alarm bot, and they won't be able to destroy it. And then after you have this alarm bot here, you want to put your swarm grenade right here. And when they run into sight, the swarm grenade will spot, the alarm bot will spot them, and if they try going down, they do it. And a lot of people will try running down here, and they're going to be taking damage, so they probably have their rifle and trying to run away from it, and they'll be more distracted for you to be able to swing off of here. You can swing here, clear this angle, you can clear here, because a lot of people might be peeking on here. And if you look at this setup, just real quick, actually cover them running down here. So a good thing to do with this setup is, apart from the fact that I talked about earlier about them lacking, this should be on pistol round, so they should all be rushing, usually. So you can have your turret here, so if they're running across here, they'll get seen, they'll get slowed down by your turret, and the Killjoy turret slow is pretty effective, so that they can't go elbow and flank you, or if they're trying to go elbow and flank you, they'll have to kill your turret, or your turret will be shooting them as they're trying to go elbow, so you'll know. And if you're anchoring sight, this turret's really good because it sees anyone coming from screen south. You can't spot it from heaven very well, and if you're trying to get close to heaven, this turret will spot you from up here. And then you can't see it from there, so it's hard to break as they try to find you, which is basement. Okay.
Coming back.
So as they're coming in with the setup, you want to be peeking either off of this side here. You can swing off here, clearing this default angles, and then the hell should all be clear because your swing grenades come off. And then anybody that's trying to hide, they like to hide here or here, or they could be along here, taking damage to your turret and killing your turret. So that should all be free kills once you've cleared your closer corners. Another good spot is behind the screen to switch it up. As your stuff goes off, you can swing here, make sure this part's clear, and then swing here. Or you can swing here and swing around, wide swing to here, so you can right behind this corner from you, or trying to shoot your turret. And the third spot is this off angle over here. This angle's pretty good because you're holding a crossfire with it. It's good for fast rushes this angle, you should be able to get 1 or 2, and it's good for when they're on full buy rounds as well as your full buy rounds, because a 1 to 2 trade is always good, and you'll be able to do damage to more than 1. You should mostly be able to kill 1 if you don't whiff. I do not recommend any Killjoy players playing elbow, because from here they can just run across onto side, and you're going to get swarmed from both this side and from this side, and you're pretty much dead in elbow. So elbow is pretty much a dead spot. I do not recommend this spot. It's never worked for me very well at all. Unless you've been anchoring side time and you're just here because you think it's probably B. You think it's probably B, so you can be here for fast rotates if the B call is called. Screens isn't great because you get smoked off. You can activate your swarms, but it won't do a lot of damage and be as effective because you won't be hitting as they're running across onto side. Okay. Next of all is the second Killjoy setup, which you can swap from. So this one, you just want to chuck one here. And it should look like this. You can put your turret here, or watching the cross, as I mentioned earlier. And when you activate it, it will look like this. You can play the same spot on side, although I recommend this side. This side is the best side for that. For the setup here. Third and last setup, you can have your turret here, or watching the cross anywhere again. Same swarm grenade.
Placing swarm grenade.
The swarm grenade here.
Placing swarm grenade.
And a
alarm bot.
So if they figured out your setup a lot, and they're just coming in, because your alarm bot doesn't spot them if they go around here, so they can just shoot a grenade and they just sit around and help. So you can put your alarm bot closer, like here. And then if they seem to try to do this, your alarm bot will spot them. Grenade out. If they run away, they're going to take the weapon. That's basically it. But the weakness of the setup is that if you're just walking up here, it is really easy to see your swarm grenades and alarm bot and shoot them to death. So that's one downside of this setup. This is best for Killjoy because you can put a turret here, but you can do this with any other agent too. One thing I've been noticing a lot in my comp games is that if you have your turret there watching the cross and you're sending here ramps, or you can have a teammate sending here ramps, when the turret gets contact or whatever, you can be sitting here and this will be holding a crossfire from on site to here. And to here, and this is a really good people, because when you're clearing it's right. So I when they're coming across, they often, if they know that your turret's there, they often will shift or slow peek it, get slowed down by your turret. You're going to be dead from ramps. This way you're holding. That's basically the most used Killjoy setups on a site. Alright, next I have a Killjoy setup that is very effective for holding down B heaven, because if you don't have a Sage, you can be rushed really easily from B heaven to B, and you can lose many rounds in a row because of this push, because it's very effective if they have strong flashes or a good raise player. So first of all, you want to be putting your turret here to here, and as the round starts, because the round barrier is here, you're going to be instantly chucking a swarm grenade there, putting an alarm bot anywhere in here really. You can put a swarm grenade here. When you activate it, put something like this, they can't hide. They cannot even hide here when they run into your swarm grenade as you activate it. And you can even swing along. If they try to run up to mail, they're going to get slowed by your turret. So that's really effective. But if you find that as you're holding B mid, your B side is becoming really weak and they're punishing both B and B mid, you can have your turret appearance, which will help you watch B main as you have the same setup on mail, and it will work just as effectively. Or you can have
Boss
your
coming
turrets
back.
here.
Turret out.
And this one's also pretty good. I don't reckon it's as good as that one, because this one you can just jiggle here and shoot it to death. Whereas that one you have to jiggle all the way out here.
Here.
You're exposed to so many different things. One thing I see a lot of Killjoy players doing is that they're putting their turret on top of this stack of boxes.
Turret out.
And this stack of boxes, the turret up here, although it washes heaven along with all of
Yeah.
this, it's really ineffective. All it does is give you info. The enemy team can just come around here and not expose themselves to the turret to death. So that turret does not do very much. The turret won't see they're shooting that turret to death, so it won't even do any damage at all. And overall, it's just ineffective. Okay, so next we have the Killjoy setup for B site. So first of all, I prefer A site over B site for Killjoy, but it's good to be switching up between the sites and mid and B. One is wherever you're weak, 2 is wherever they're constantly pushing, and 3 is just switching it up. Even if they're constantly pushing a site, just switching it up once in a while, just to make them confused as to where you're going. And this will also change your other teammates. So you could, if you had a breach for example, you could suddenly go A and get some free aftershock kills or something like that. So first of all, you want to put your
Placing alarm bot.
so it's around at this cross area, but if you look at the circle, it should cross from around, it should cover all of this area here, as you can see from the circle, and it should cover all the way to pillar. So if you place like that, it gets them as they're walking in through B main, unless they walk around here, but it's very unlikely as they usually will have a stage wall up here, and you should have a turret watching here. Second of all, you want your second swarm grenade to be somewhere around this vent here. That works. It will just activate like that. Or be main here and over here as well. So if they run into alarm bot and you activate this here, it'll be cool. So you have one here. You put the other one around here. So between here and here, halfway between these two, like that. And then if you play, I like to play pillar here or default, because if they suddenly get heaven control and your team loses heaven, you can still hide behind the default box and it's still pretty strong. And then just hold here, and when your alarm bot goes off, you activate these 2 swings. You swing, there's 2 spots they like to go, and it's this one and up here. And they should be vulnerable from the alarm bot, or if they've shot it, they're too busy hiding away. You should be able to get these free kills. They should be pretty good. There's just 2 pre-aim angles. Once you play a few times, you'll get used to it. Okay. You can also play backside here, although it's not as effective as you can only slow killer, and you can get shot from B main easily, and they can swing from B main easily. But the good thing about backside is that it is less exposed to heaven than as the default box. But if they've got heaven control, you could also move CT and just play retake, especially if you've got your Killjoy up. Okay.
Calling my bot.
One last point I want to make about playing B site as a defender is that this spot here, this turret here, is not actually a very bad turret spot at all. Because if you're playing aggressive Killjoy, when the turret goes off, you can swing, and it's very effective. Because the turret's at an off angle, they have to swing down, flick down if they want to kill you. But that's only if you're playing aggressive, or if you're finding that what you're doing right now is not working, and you need to go for an aggressive pick, or if they've just been playing default for a long time, and if their default's been working around very well. Okay, next I want to go over the retake ults for B site. So first of all, the best retake ult spot is over here, in this one. This ult will hit all sites, including back site and out here. And if you just have a Omen or a Brim smoke off your main, then you should be fine for retaking the site. Just careful, if there's someone held, they can hide in this corner and they'll be safe. And they can also go up to heaven and they'll be safe. And then if it's fine up in main, then it fights. But this will give you all of sight for free, and that's pretty good. Only downside is it can easily be pushed and bang, and it's hard to hold a crossfire after the split map got changed. Second good ult spot is here. This one covers health and is harder for the enemy team to destroy that full swing out into CT. But however, this one does not cover these boxes here, so they can be sitting here. However, these spots are pretty exposed, so it works almost as effectively. Third ult spot is from here. Now, this ult spot is if you don't have CT control, and this one will push them out of CT and into backside and pillar here. And you need to be retaking fast with this ult because they'll be backed up against the pillar, so you need to be shooting them as they're backing up against it. But please use the CT ones instead of this B Heaven one because it is more effective. Final note is please do not put your Killjoy out like something like here. This one barely covers anything. I've seen some Killjoys do it. They think it clears out B main. It does, but it's unlikely that people are going to be hiding B main. And I've seen some people put it here. And the one here can be that one can be water. So I do not recommend that either. Killjoy players that put it hell, they basically got themselves in a death trap and they're going to be pushed. So there's some no-goes for the B main deck spots. Now, you shouldn't really be using your Killjoy ult in mid. So here I'm going to show you now the A site Killjoy ults. First of all, my favorite Killjoy ult, because it pushes them all into one corner, is the one in this corner. This is only if you have full strength control, and they can't even hide hell. They'll get caught up even in there. And the only corner they'll be sitting in is this corner. And can be seen from heaven. As you push out of elbow, just make sure to pre-fire this corner. Be pre-aiming it at head height, and you should be fine. Just care if they have heaven control, they can be sitting heaven still, and they can be main. Second, I see a lot of people doing this ult. This ult's nowhere as effective. I do not recommend this ult at all. It's just if they raise nade or something, you won't be sitting with your ult inside a dead. It's about as easy as to get pushed as this one here. You want to have your, and as you're ulting, this works for B side as well, you want to have your turret or alarm bot watching the entrance for you.
Coming back.
Next best ult spot is up here. I see Killjoy players do this one a lot. This one's good because it plays all of main, all of ramps, all of screens, all of vents. But however, if they're on site, they have two spots they can sit in instead of one. They can sit here and here. And this spot here is really safe, so it allows them to still stay safe on site. But if they seem to have a lot of how to control, like not really all on site, then the A Heaven one's the one to go. And that is basically all the ults you need to know for A site for Killjoy. Alright, now I'll be talking about A site attack as Killjoy. So first of all, you need to make sure that as a Killjoy player, especially if you don't have a Cypher, you need to have your turret on the flank. So the best flank turret is here. The turret pushes both A ramp and anybody flanking from sewers and spawn, because it pushes out 180 degree. Once you've pushed into site, it'll tell if anybody's coming from A main. So it's watching that for you. If you see your turret go off or if you see your turret die, just know that someone's coming from A main. So that's where your turret should be. When you're pushing into site, it's just the normal push into site team thing. This is your duelist job. When you're on site, the best plant is at this spot here. Anywhere at this default spot should be fine. And then once you're here, you have two choices. Your first choice is to play on site. They're retaking really fast, you should play on site. You can do this at elbow, and if anyone pushes you in here, that gets spotted by the alarm bot. This has gotten me so many kills. It's the most effective swarm grenade combo on defense, and as you're doing this, you can just be holding here, and you can just be holding here. Okay. Secondly, when you plant here, you can go play your lineups. This is for if they're late to retaking the site, or if they're rotating in from B, or if everything's smoked up so it's easy for you to leave. What you want to do is you want to stand against this corner here. You want to be aiming so that your Swarm grenade reticle is lined up against a white line as shown in the picture. And you just want to do it.
Swarm grenade.
And then this should land all the way here at default. Covers the entire default plant, lands really well. You can also do that for if you're pushing into site and you want to land a swarm grenade here. If someone's often playing there, then when you're pushing into site, it's one less angle you have to watch. You only have to make here, and behind the spots with your teammates. Okay. Next level is Killjoy ult. This is a very normal Killjoy ult. You just do it here. Every Killjoy player knows this. Every Killjoy player knows this. It just covers the entire site. It's very effective. You can hide here. And they have to leave the site. And I see some players put it here. It really doesn't make much of a difference. This one just covers this and doesn't cover ramps, so I think just putting it here is the best option. And that basically is all you have to do for attacking this. Next, I'll be talking about attacking in mid. So first of all, there's two good Killjoy turrets that you can do. One, if you just have everyone in mid, no one's really defaulting. A good Killjoy turret's here. Watches anyone coming from B and flanking. Watches anyone coming from sewers and flanking. Just make sure you're not exposed to sewers, because they can shoot you before your bot spots them. But if you're just defaulting, have a few people in mid, a good Killjoy turret is up here. This Killjoy turret will see anybody coming from vents, coming from here. So when they swing, they'll first get slowed by the Killjoy turret and they're going to back off. They're not going to keep fighting. Or, if you're up closer and it spots someone here, you can just swing with it and get a free kill. And it also watches vents for you as well. When you're coming at mid, I like to place my swarm grenade vents. This is when you have no sage wall or anything watching it. Having a swarm grenade there is always good, because often you get slowed. If you get slowed down in melee by a sage or by a nade or something, people like to push out vents and try to go. This alarm bot will spot anyone trying to push out of vents, and they'll hopefully back down vents and back to CT. When you're pushing up heaven,
bot coming back.
You have not put your alarm bot there because your sage has boarded it, or it's boom botted it or something like that. Put your alarm bot here. It serves the same purpose. Or if you've used your alarm bot, you can resort to using a nade to hold it as you're pushing out. Doing this for your team is really effective, stops anyone from getting caught. It's one of the best uses for a swarm grenade apart from post plant. Post plant, it's strong, but it's less effective than everybody thinks it is, because one raised satchel or a shock dart and it's all gone. When you're pushing out, it's just normal pushing out into B side. Or if you're going into vents, just push into vents, but instead have your alarm bot going out here. And having a nade here. And if you nade there, I'll show you. If you're pushing up through vents, and you nade here, slows anybody rotating. It's really effective for mid. And that's about how you attack mid is with your teammate. But remember, if your teammates naded it or mollied it, then you don't have to do that. Your brimstone or raise should be doing that instead of you, because your utility is good for playing post plant or holding a site with as a sentinel player. Same swarm grenade for CT, slows them down as you're trying to plant. Okay, and then next point I want to make is that you can put a swarm grenade onto here. This one stops anyone trying to use the bomb with default. Better swarm grenade to do as well. People are less likely to find that one because the ones on top of this box are pretty easy to see. And if you don't have the time to chuck them everywhere, then you can just chuck them all on default. The next thing you can do is you can come to main, and if you're doing a full run,
placing swarm grenade.
stay around there, and get a full molly into here. So line up from B main. And while you're doing this, it's good to have a turret up here to tell you if someone's swinging you or someone's trying to come kill you. It's pretty effective. Or you can just chuck your mollies on and play after plant. Of course, if you do get the option and heaven's being watched, you should be planting here, so it's planted for your main. So you can just chuck, you can just come main each time they're trying to defuse. Pretty easy to land that one. And then you can peek when your mollies have defused. Okay. Next is attacking in from B site. So for B site, you can just have, I like to put my turret either here, although the range will be a bit less, or here, or if you have a Cypher, or if you're playing default, and you don't need to watch the flank, just put your turret up here. This is very effective, because if you're trying to grab the orb to farm your ult point, or anything else, your turret will watch if they swing pillar, and you can get a kill on them, it slows them down. And then when you're pushing in, you just want to do just the default thing, plant here or plant here, and then play post plant, either from B main, or I like to play pillar but not really backside, because as a Killjoy player you should not be sitting in dead corners, because once you get flushed out as the sentinel on your team, you should be best post plant, so then your teammates will fall apart post plant without you alive. And your mollies and everything are really good for after plant, so there's no point in you sitting in a dead corner like backside unless you're absolutely forced into that situation.
Coming back.
Best ult for B, you just chuck it up at this tire. This is the most default Killjoy ult as well. Chuck a swarm grenade anywhere backside. This will push them. They'll probably be sitting here or back here. But usually when people see a swarm grenade coming in, they'll try to shoot it. You should know if they're backside. Or what's even better is if you have a raise, then you should have raise blow up backside, because your molly cannot cover all of backside for you. But the molly can serve as a bait, because they'll get scared from the molly even if you do miss it, like I just did. It will still cover backside a little bit, and they'll be tempted to shoot it, and you would know if they're there. So as you're coming in, this is the backside's the only place you have to really worry about, and then you can chuck a molly CT, and then just pop. They're unlikely to push out of here after your lockdown's gone off. Important thing for Killjoy players, when you're using a lockdown, make sure to comment, what site you're doing it, and if you're doing a fake with the lockdown, make sure you're commenting that you're faking with the lockdown. Come to your teammates, tell them to push in at 3 or 2 seconds, because I see a lot of players just pushing out before the Killjoy's even gone off, and there could be someone just swings pillar, gets a kill, and then runs CT. Another thing to be careful of is that if you notice that a Reyna is often playing on site of the site that you are Killjoy ulting, they can, when there's a few seconds left, don't just presume that the spot is clear if there's a Reyna playing, because they can swing, dismiss, and they be safe. So they can decide to do that. Just be very careful. But you should have already played a few rounds of attack if you have gotten your Killjoy ult. Okay, so that basically sums up my advanced and in-depth Killjoy guide. Although I don't have very good aim at all and play on 60 frames, this is how I used Killjoy to climb ranks and get to high diamond without needing to do much at all, because I am able to help my team and win games. Thanks for watching, and if you're new, make sure you like and subscribe. And stay in tuned for more in-depth guides to different agents on different maps. Thanks.
Here.